Hey, everybody, it's Russ Fordyce again with the Business Intelligence Group with another episode of the Winner Circle. And we're here today with Sophie Reymond. She is the founder of SRPR and Coworker, and she is a new Horizon Awards winner. So, welcome, Sophie, and thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Russ.
It's such a pleasure to hear from you. I always tell people I don't read every nomination that comes in, but I do read all the winning nominations. And yours was such an inspiration because of the transformational work you're doing with kind of all this co-worker movement. So why don't you just step back for a second, give us a bit of an introduction to you and kind of role at SRPR and what you're doing at Coworker.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a communication person. I live in Switzerland, so I work mostly from Switzerland, from Europe. And I've been working in communication for years now, but a few years ago, I actually founded my own consultancy after years in corporate. So I founded SRPR, which is a very boutique consultancy specializing in PR and communication for AI-driven and tech startups. Aside of that, I started to work very deeply with AI, with Gen AI when it started to arise like a few years ago. And now I'm also an advisor and a trainer for fellow communication people. And I help them integrate AI into the workflows or their consultancy or their business or their company, help them structuring and measuring, not just content generation, let's say. Aside of that, I started another endeavor a little less than a year ago, which is called Coworker, which is not at all about communication, but is going to be a mentorship and community platform dedicated to women. And I'm saying going to be because we are expecting to launch in early 2026. And this is coming from just the fact that I never had a mentor in my life. I was the first generation in my family to go to university and to work a corporate job. I really needed guidance at some point in my career. I couldn't find it. So at some point, I just started to think maybe I should just do the thing myself. And that's where the adventure started.
Yeah, and I think you're being a little modest. You've trained for AI at MIT, and you're
Yeah.
building some really cool things. But I think your mentorship comment is really a good one because we don't know what we don't know, and it's really hard, whoever you are, to know kind of where you're headed, especially at a young age. You've got so many ideas and questions at the same time that you really do need somebody in your life that's kind of giving you guidance. I was lucky enough to have some bosses and some other colleagues that kind of kept me in the lines and gave me some guidance. Who was it in your life that kind of picked you up and set you on your way?
I want to say myself, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it sounded like if you needed mentors, it was
Yeah. I think
how
that
did how did you finally kind of say I've got to do this myself?
Well, I think it was a few years ago when I started my first company, so SRPR, it was really a wake-up call for me to do something on my own because I had actually just went through burnout from corporate life, and I thought that I need to do something that was more matching my rhythm, my style. I am not a scientific. You said I trained at MIT, but my background originally is in humanities. I studied English and history and then a little bit of communications. So I'm not a scientist, but I worked with them a lot. I worked with tech companies. I work within tech, med tech startups. So these people were my peers, and they were not my mentors, but I learned from them. I learned from them a lot, and I liked also the techie side of the businesses. So when Gen AI started to be popular, specifically ChatGPT, of course, but all the other tools, I said, okay, I need to train myself. I need to be the person I need around me, basically. So yeah, I did this training at MIT to also be up to date with not only how to use Gen AI on a daily basis, but how actually is Gen AI, how it works, how it's built. And that was also necessary for me to understand, the how everything was done, to be able to apply it. And I think that's also why I want to share that knowledge with other fellow communication professionals who probably, some of them are a bit afraid of AI sometimes. So yeah, if I can also become the mentor for them at some point in that discussion, that's also something I'm super
Well, yeah,
into.
you sit right at that kind of that crossroads where of kind of where the technology meets storytelling, and so
Exactly.
it's a fun place to be. What originally drew you into kind of communications and storytelling?
I always loved storytelling. I always loved writing ever since I was a kid. And when I studied literature and history, at some point it was either you become a teacher or you do something else with that knowledge. I never wanted to teach. And then I had some marketing and communication classes during my master's. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. That's something I can actually do with my knowledge, with what I like to do, but apply to anything else. And I ended up in the technology and science ecosystem because I live very close to a technical school, actually. So it was kind of natural process, which was good because also it allowed me to learn a lot about something I was not familiar with, which is more medical and science, biology, all these things, very niche, let's say, businesses that taught me a lot.
Yeah, I had a boss once who was really adamant that I knew every in and out about the technology we were selling. And it was a technology that I was familiar with, but not deeply familiar. And I struggled to learn about it because it was a completely different concept that I'd ever considered, really. A piece of technology, it's not important. What's important is that I didn't need to learn about the technology. I needed to learn about the solutions it was solving as a marketer. It wasn't about the deep technical knowledge and specs about it. It was about the solutions. And it seems like AI and PR are kind of right in that sweet spot of really trying to help people understand the technology. We just have to make sure that people know how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what also I want to bring with my approach of AI in PR is that AI is not here to replace the person, to replace the creativity. Actually, I want AI to free time and space to be able to deploy this creativity. So that's really the approach I'm trying to take with my when I train people around me and I train my colleagues, is for them really to understand that I know companies now are trying to replace comms people or marketing people or creative people with AI. I think we're already seeing that they are taking a step back with that it's not really working. So maybe the first aspect is a threat because yeah, people might lose their job with that, but I don't think it will last. I think we are already understanding that creativity is something that's really linked to the human touch. But with AI, you can actually free your time to focus on that creativity.
Yeah, and I think you were one of the first to really kind of enable AI and PR. What was that moment like? And how did you really go, this isn't a threat, this is an opportunity?
I never really saw it as a threat, actually. I remember the first time I heard about ChatGPT, I was at a family dinner. It was back in 2021, I think, when it launched, 2022, sorry. I have a brother who is much younger than me, and he just brought at the table saying, this new thing launched, just check it out. And everyone in my family were just asking very basic question you ask ChatGPT the first time you play with it, right? Like, what is life? And give me a recipe for fondue. And immediately I thought it was incredible because it could actually work with my words. And maybe I was thinking if I can feed it information, it can give it to me in another way. And I started working with it. I was never really afraid. I started working with it a bit and I saw that it could be trained. I understood how it could be trained. It was really interesting for me, already trying to make it work for me so that it could free my time. And then a few months after that, I went to a conference here in Switzerland about AI, actually, in this technical school, very close to my place. And there were a session specifically for media people. So 90% of the people in the room were journalists, but 10% were comms people. And no one was using AI. No one was using AI.
Wow.
And all of them were actually really scared to even try. And I thought, okay, this is maybe something, there is something to do here. It's an opportunity for me to develop that, but also to show them that it's not a threat and show them what all the amazing things are you can do with it.
Yeah, in my career, I would say I think a lot of those times when you're scared and you think there's this change, if you just flip that mentality up, okay, it is reality, right? There could be this change, there could be this AI coming. What's the opportunity? How do I lash onto this and do more, do something different? And with your work, I can definitely see that. You talk about, kind of being at the dinner table and you work, obviously with individuals and startups and scale ups and global organizations in your work. How does that approach differ when you're talking to a small team in a global company or just an individual client?
It changes a lot because in companies, they want to automate everything now, not just the PR processes, but everything. So I have one of my clients, they really have someone dedicated internally to automate everything, all their workflows, all their processes. So though that's a conversation, but also I have individual people coming to me because they actually are asked to integrate that in their daily practice as PR person. So I even have people reaching out to me because they are applying for jobs. And in the job description, it's now stated that they have to be proficient with AI tools and that they have to integrate them in their work if they want to have this job. So people are even been reaching out to me for me to train them to get a new job in communication.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of friends. One of our advisory board members, actually, one of the people that helped build out the Horizon Awards, Denny Casserell, she has really taken it upon herself. She was a former journalist, former marketing person who really is now spending a lot of time learning and just trying out all sorts of different stuff with AI. And why wouldn't you? You're a creative person, and these tools are so amazing at giving you access to, basically, hey, a video studio, a photo studio, whatever you want.
Yeah, no, it's really amazing what you can do. For me, it helps me a lot also in my day to day to exactly to work on some creatives, pictures, visuals. Which I mean, I'm not a graphic designer, so it also helps me. I work with graphic designers, but sometimes I just want to tweak some elements. I don't have the proficiency with the tools, and now you just ask AI to do it for you, and it works. It's really amazing. Yeah, behind that, I also work a lot for AI to automate my processes, basically. So now I'm trying to have more and more trained agents. I'm trying to have databases that can be indexed so that my agent can talk to them. So it's really more in the background sometimes that I use those tools to be faster and more efficient, basically.
Yeah, it's funny. We've spent a lot of time as marketing people, kind of unraveling that technology and making it presentable. And you do a lot of that in your work at SRPR. How do you, what's the biggest gap that companies have of kind of translating those technical achievements and technical wins into kind of real human stories, do you think?
In the application of AI, I mean
And
specifically?
just in any technology, how do you translate that technical knowledge that is there into human stories?
Yeah. That's a very interesting question. I think it helps to have people who are not specialists, actually. I pride myself in the fact that I'm a generalist. I can do a little bit of everything. And I think that's very important for this conversation because, as you said before, you don't have to know exactly what is at the core of the technology. You need to be aware of the solution it provides to the end users. And that's how you can translate this into a story that can touch the people that will use the product. Or for me, mostly it helps because also if I work with medtech and beneficiaries or sick people, patients who are like
Right.
expecting something from the solution. So this you can really, I won't say it's easier to build a story targeted to people who are really expecting results because they have to, because they're sick. But still, I think not being a specialist helps me a lot because I understand the product. Like in the end, maybe the patient would like to understand the product that is going to be applied to them.
Yeah. It's making it relatable.
Exactly. So it's kind of the
Yeah.
same mental journey that I have to take in my head to understand it and translate it into something they will understand.
Yeah. Now I want to pivot a little bit here to your Coworker idea. It's such a beautiful idea. And if we didn't kind of give it a snapshot, the way I explained it to people, it's kind of you're building a space where women entrepreneurs can get together to kind of mentor each other and start to build out their network. What was the kind of the idea that sparked that off for you?
Well, actually, it's not for only entrepreneurs. It's for any women in the workplace. Basically, I really wanted to find a mentor for years. I couldn't find a mentor. I couldn't find. We had some people here and there to help. I mean, everyone probably has unofficial mentors, I would say, during their lives. But for me, I really wanted to have someone in my environment that was a woman because also navigating a very masculine environment in tech, in med tech, there were not a lot of women around the table, which made it sometimes less easy for us to speak up or to be heard. And yeah, just decided to build something to help with that because I was looking for a solution. Here in Europe, there is not many or none at all. In the US, there are a few, but really specified to areas or businesses, core area of businesses. So I really wanted to build something global that we could have online, no borders, for everyone who needed someone to help them maybe build their career or go back to work after having children, or navigate after the study how you go into a corporate life, or what are the rules, the unspoken rules of corporate lives. How do you negotiate a salary increase? All these things that I didn't know how to do when I was younger. I had to learn like every day at work, on the field. And I really wanted, to build a space where people could be actually matched. It's going to be kind of a matchmaking service, kind of a dating app if you want, but for mentors and mentees, so that they can help each other, they can mentor each other, and also creating a community of people supporting each other.
And when you're talking to women today in business, what do you think they need to hear right now beyond, what do they need beyond money and visibility? What do you hear they're needing, from people?
I think they need support and they need a space to be heard, to be honest. I launched Coworker because I thought my idea was good for sure. But when I talk to people around me, when I talk to women around me about the project, I had a lot of interest about it, because obviously now we don't have something tangible. For now, it's really like in the work. We are building the platform with developers, but we already have 50 women who already subscribe to be mentors. We already have people who are on the wait list to be mentees. So I think really people really need just a space to discuss, to exchange, to grow together, let's say.
It must be really hard to balance all these roles that you have, as being kind of this founder of Coworker and assess PR and community builder. What have you learned to help kind of, make this more of a collaborative effort in all of these different kind of areas of your life?
Actually, I think I like the diversity. It's not so hard for me to balance everything out, because it was much harder for me to have one only job and only role and do only that. I like it, and it allowed me to build interactions between the different world evolving in. Yes, to me, it's all about balance. Actually, I need balance. I think everyone needs balance, especially in the work environment. But my balance actually is a bit of everything.
And if there was one magic bullet that you could have to kind of solve that one challenge you had, just getting Coworker started and our SRPR kind of off the ground, if there's one kind of thing you could have, what's that one thing that entrepreneur needs to, kind of step?
More time, which is not realistic. I would like my day to be around 36 hours, would be great.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I had a professor in college who was a physicist who said he tried a 26-hour day once and it didn't go well. By the third day, he was really off.
Yeah, and you still need to sleep. I mean, I'm not someone who wakes up at 5 a.m. every morning. I'm not that kind of person. I really need my sleep.
Well, now you're in the communications industry and AI is absolutely playing a huge role. We've talked about it a little bit. Where do you see it being, where's it going to be in 2 or 3 years from now?
Well, I think there is one specific fundamental thing we have to take care of very quickly about AI. It's the way it's trained, because right now AI is trained mainly from what is online on the internet, but the internet is more and more AI generated content. So it's creating a loop of content that is self-feeding, which might not be the best thing, because we know that AI creates also hallucination, wrong information. So I think we have to rethink that training of AI, how it works, and also probably the way we approach the internet overall in general. And also, I think there's a very urgent necessity for everyone, every country, to regulate AI and its usage. If we do all of this, I think the future is bright, because I don't think AI is going anywhere. I think we will have to live with it, to work with it for the best. But we really have to maybe take a step back and rebuild solid foundation.
Yeah, it's interesting you say the kind of the loop of AI content. I thought a lot about that because we dealt with that in the online world in the beginning, and it turned into search engine optimization, and we all were building content the way search engines wanted to consume it, and now there's this whole geo or generative engine optimization community coming into role of how we can feed the AI, right? And the question I've always had is, if you're feeding it lies, right, and fake data that's not really sourced, what's it going to do with that? And they've got to triangulate somehow on that information. Otherwise, it's, as you said, it's just going to be junk in, junk out. It's, we have to go back to the days of being a reporter where you had to actually validate a tip or a story with more than one person, because that person could be lying to you, even though, you don't think they are. So it's going to be very interesting as they have to deal with that, because what do marketers do? We, start putting content out that we think is right.
No, exactly, exactly. But what is interesting about that is that I have more and more clients also now wanting to be not only SEO optimized and Google visible, but also visible on Gen AI tools. So how do I
Yeah,
become visible on ChatGPT and not only the first result when you have a Google search?
yeah,
Which actually happened
that's
to
right.
me. I was really surprised that sometime last year, someone reached out to me, potential client, because they had found my name on ChatGPT, asking who is the best PR person in Switzerland to promote a platform, something like that, and my name came out. Actually, you could also land clients through ChatGPT, apparently.
Yeah, it is. It is a growing industry. We're working with the friends of ours from Optimized Geo on exactly that for our business, and being found. It's a very interesting time to be in this space too. You've been a kind of communications professional for over a decade now, and started your own company, and now this startup. If you could give some advice to somebody just starting out in communications, coming out of college or out of high school, what advice would you give them, and what kind of direction would you steer them in as a mentor?
Just don't be afraid to try. I think trial and error and trying again is the way to succeed in the end. It might take a little bit of time, but I think that's the way to go. I don't think 15 years ago, I thought there was one way of doing things, and that if I was not doing it the right way, I was going to have setbacks and take more time. And maybe it's true, but at least I learned so much along the way. I think we really have to try and fail and try again, because if I had done my career in the straight line, probably I wouldn't be here today talking to you. I wouldn't have these businesses, and I wouldn't have that balance in my daily life and professional life today.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, you're in Switzerland, you've got a more global perspective than I do. How are you seeing that kind of cultural shift to AI in Europe and versus the other countries that you work in?
Well, it's a big question here in Europe right now, because actually Europe is very, very much behind the US, behind China. There are some models that have been launched in France that are working okay. Models here in Switzerland that are working not so okay, probably a lot of pushback. So I think Europe really has to step up their game if they want to stay in the course. Yeah.
No, it's definitely going to be a change in how we think and how we operate, and especially in the communications field.
Yes.
Sophie, Reymond, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much, and congratulations on the Horizon Award.
Well, thank you very much.